The following is a presentation of Team Bonding, providing more than 100 live, virtual, or hybrid corporate team building activities for companies around the world. Visit teambonding.com to schedule your event now.
Hello once again, ladies and gentlemen, my team. My name is Rich Rinnensland, and that means you're in Team Building Around the World, the podcast where I speak to people from team building, team bonding industry from all over the globe. Today, I'm very excited to have with me Mr. Stuart Harris, the co-founder and managing director at Team Building Asia. So we are really reaching out as far as we can. Stuart is, he's just not only an entrepreneur, but he has a real flair for business, what everybody's telling me. He has managed to take a small company from 1996. He's organizing such large-scale corporate events for institutions such as Simmons & Simmons, Solomon Smith Barney, Deloitte Consulting, over and over and over. The list goes on. But, of course, before we get to my guest, I do need to actually throw some love to my supporters out there. This show is supported by the Catalyst Team Building Network. Find out more about the world's largest network of team building providers at catalystglobal.com. And I also want to thank our friends at B1G1, which can make your business a real force for good. So visit b1g1.com to get started today. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, joining me all the way from Hong Kong, please give a loving team building hello to Mr. Stuart Harris.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. That's just the small group of people I keep under my desk, Stuart. You don't have to worry about them. So please, tell everybody, let's tell everybody about yourself.
Oh, yeah, good question. So, yeah, I've been based in Hong Kong since 1996 and been there for many, many years, seen lots of different transitions of Hong Kong and actually living in Hong Kong since 1996, and the company has been going since 2002. So we're in our 18th year of business, and we do team building solutions around Asia Pacific for corporate clients, and anything from, getting people being part of a orchestra to treasure hunt, amazing race type activities to building Formula One race cars out of cardboard, and that keeps us very busy. Whilst I'm not, when we're not busy doing the team building, family man with have a 6-year-old and a 10-year-old who keep us busy at home.
It's always good to have your own support team out there. So
in training,
sure. So Hong Kong, a lot of my listeners being local, that is a far reach for this. So thank you so much for coming and joining us tonight. I say tonight because that's what it is where you are. It's actually early in the morning for me. But let's start off. When you started out in Hong Kong, you weren't actually in the team building industry, were you? What did you start off as?
Yeah, so the background really is in hospitality and then into event management. So from the UK originally, and trained in the hospitality hotel business, carried that through to Hong Kong. And then when we saw a need in the market in around 2002 for something different, it was sort of in a time when people didn't even talk about startups. There was business or no business. But we decided we should start up an organization, and with my business partner, Mr. David Simpson. And we started the company in 2002 as an idea, saw a bit of a need in the market, something different, and put together a early business plan, and took probably a couple of years to get established. We were definitely looking at offering something new and different to the regular sort of what was known for team building at that time. And so it took a couple of years to get going. But then by 2004, 2005, then we had a good clientele and good products that we were working on and delivering. And the rest is history from there.
Fantastic. So when you say that you were offering something different, what did it look like? What did the industry look like before you got involved?
Yeah, there was a few players in the market, certainly Outward Bound, which I think is obviously known around the world as that would be the sort of the traditional sort of team building, which is fantastic. If you've got that sort of need, the outdoors, the raft building, the high ropes, and if our customers are looking for that, we still point them in the direction of Outward Bound or that type of facility, more outdoor sort of training. What we were finding and what we were being asked for was they didn't have a whole day or half a day to go out to the countryside to do a sort of half-day event. They wanted something maybe short and just something they could do in the office. So, one of our signature events was our juggling motivator, and we could come to the office and deliver that program. Simple sort of motivation activity, teaching people how to juggle within 90 minutes. And that was quite novel at that time because the participants had to make the juggling balls out of rice, tights, and balloons. And then once they had made their 3 juggling balls, then we took them through a process and then related that process back to anything within the business. If you understand the process and break it down into small pieces, then you can achieve anything. And most importantly, with the support of you, there was a support mechanism in there. With the support of your team, you can achieve anything as well. So that's how we started off. And obviously that was a sort of different experience for people. And they were like, wow, we can really get some key outputs and some key inputs and really bring the team together within 90 minutes. And we don't even have to leave the office. So it's fantastic.
That's great. I got to tell you, I've been trying to learn how to juggle for 25 years and I still haven't mastered it. So apparently I have to go to Hong Kong.
Process, that's the problem.
There you go. Let's talk about being in Hong Kong. We imagine that it is such a no pun intended, foreign world from what we know, especially Westerners. So what does team dynamics look like in your country? I mean, what are you facing when you talk about teams in Hong Kong?
It's very mixed, to be honest. We're delivering team building for clients in Hong Kong and around the region. It's very culturally diverse. A lot of our participants, when they're on the programs, English is their second language. So it might be a international team. But half the people might be English, might be their second language. So obviously we have to accommodate for that. So sometimes, or it could be the other way. It could be the program needs to be delivered in Cantonese, which is the local dialect in Hong Kong, but there is English speakers there. So we really have to obviously do a lot of research beforehand, really understand who's in the room and what language is best. Sometimes it might be, well, we've got 100 people, but only 2 of them are native English speakers. So then we're like, well, how do we work with those people? What's most people going to be comfortable with? Is it going to be more comfortable in Cantonese and then we help out the people with English speaking, or is it going to be more appropriate to do it in English and we help out the Cantonese speakers? So I guess that would be the biggest difference in terms of the dynamics. And you've got a lot of people coming in from all around Asia working in corporations. So they could be coming from the UK, France, they could be coming up from Australia, they could be coming from India, Indonesia. So most teams are very diverse. And obviously we just need to understand that and adjust the pace accordingly, I would say.
Okay. So what kind of, what is it they're looking for when they come to you?
Right. Yeah. Well, generally, I would imagine it's similar around the world. It's about communication. That is always key. It's about engagement, dealing with multi-generations as well. Obviously, I think we've got multi-generations in the workplace as well. So mainly main thing would be around engagement. So they would come to us and say, well, we need to energize a team with engagement. Our business, some of it is around conferences and meetings and events. So people holding a regional conference, whether that's in Hong Kong or in Macau, which is only an hour away from Hong Kong, or that could be they could be hosting the event in Bali, or they could be going to Thailand, to Bangkok. So, really that's when the regional event in our experience comes in. With all of the underlying message is getting people together. We're also focused on our small screens or our big screens these days. So, it's about engagement and getting people talking to each other that they wouldn't necessarily normally have that interaction with.
Great. Now, you mentioned, of course, one of the big hurdles you have, the language difference, even there within one company. What kind of special accommodations do you offer?
Yeah, so we in our full-time team, we have native English speakers, we have Cantonese speaking facilitators, and then we have Mandarin speaking facilitators as well. So most of the time, all of our team would be able to adjust that language. If we might be delivering it in English on the stage, but then the team would be going around clarifying the instructions in Cantonese or in Mandarin to accommodate that. And we would also have the translation of the materials as well. So we would translate them into Chinese. And what we learned early on is there's simplified characters and there's traditional characters. So depending on, so Hong Kong uses traditional characters, whereas up in the mainland China, they use simplified characters. So obviously we need to be aware of that as well.
That's a lot to take into consideration before you even can begin an event. Now, what inspired you to want to actually make this your career?
Right. Yes. Well, I mean, like I said, my background was in hospitality and events, and David's, my business partner's, background in psychology and training. So we had a good mix of skills. So my hospitality background set us in good stead for, processes and, timelines and producing an event together and the event management side. And David's is in the delivery and the on-stage side. So I think once we had got into the first 2 or 3 years, and then we were like, wow, this is actually great. And what we were suddenly realizing then, we were actually making a difference. So with the events that we were in, we were really making a difference with corporations, and we knew that because they keep coming back. So that's obviously a good benchmark. I was obviously a bit younger in those days as well, and the opportunities to be traveling around Asia. We might be doing an event in Shanghai one day, and then the next day in Kuala Lumpur. We were flying around all the time. So we were, and still do, have a lot of fun. And as it built from there, and we grew the team, grew the business, and the rest is sort of all pieces together. So yeah, I think it's the in terms of the career, sort of made its own path, I believe.
Excellent. All right, well, bear with me one quick second there, Stuart. I just need to go pay some bills, as they say over here. So let me take a quick break for a moment to tell you about the Catalyst Team Building Network, an association of team building providers. With representatives in over 90 countries speaking more than 20 languages, the Catalyst Network is widely regarded as the voice of the team building industry. Network members share resources, best practices, and business opportunities. Catalyst partners are learning from each other and pushing the boundaries of what is possible in team building. Catalyst Network members share a common goal of creating highly relevant, socially responsible, good value experiences for their clients. For more information, please visit catalystglobal.com. All right, Stuart. Now we're back. Let's take a second there. Let's shift some gears. Let's talk about you personally. We've been talking to other folks on the podcast, and we've been talking about like some of their favorite things that they get to do. What's one of your favorite events that you lead or have?
Well, I mean, there's so many. I think always the best events that we do are always the ones when they're out of town. So like I mentioned, we get to travel around Asia delivering these events, and the team fly off to a destination together, and everyone meets up at the airport, normally early. Most flights in Asia to go somewhere leave early in the morning. We're all together. We're normally checking in like 100 kilograms worth of luggage into the paying the over baggage charges, and trying to negotiate bringing that cost down as much as we can. And we arrive in a city all together, and then we have to obviously manage all of the logistics locally with our partners and the team and the training. So always the best events are always the ones outside of home, the hometown, should we say.
Okay.
Some of the memorable ones are certainly the flat outer float is one of our activities, which is around teams working together on a project. And this project they happen to be doing is building a boat. And the boat is made out of cardboard. So when you tell everybody that, they're like, well, cardboard doesn't go in the water. And then we tell them, well, actually, we'll give you a sheet of plastic as well, but you need to manage how that's going to fit around the boat. So the largest one of these we did was for, I think it was nearly 600 people in Phuket for a manufacturing company. And we're out in the heat, and it's, it's a very long, hot day, just getting all these teams to build all of these boats. And obviously, you've got to hope that they all float and then take them onto the water and race them. I think flat out afloat is probably one of the, you always know it's going to work, but there's always that element of, did the team build it correctly? Did they put the right piece in? And there's a few secret extra bits that they need to really make sure they've done, unless it obviously will not work. So we always help them along with that.
Now, what do you do? Let's say, for example, they've put the boat in, it looks like it's going to float, and yet it just doesn't. What do you do for them then? How do you fix that?
Well, normally we try to set them up for a bit of success. What tends to happen is they're going to race depending on what type of water we're going to do the racing on. So the one I was mentioning in Phuket was just on a sort of a mini lake, so there was no current or no waves, so it was all pretty straightforward.
Nice.
But we've done it in other locations where the waves might be a little bit bigger than we thought they were going to be, and then water starts coming into the boat, and obviously the plastic only lasts so long. So that's obviously everyone's wearing life jackets. We've got our lifeguards there to make sure that's obviously safety first with any of these events. We always ask the participants to make sure they can swim. So if the boats start getting a little bit soggy, shall we say, well, we've got our team there to obviously make sure the participants are safe, and then our event marshals get in there and pull the boat out of the water. So obviously we want to be environmentally friendly as well, because all the cardboard does get taken away to be recycled. So
lovely.
We have lots of considerations.
Yeah, especially with 600 plus people. I mean, how many boats did you have in the water that day?
That's one of the. I think we had about 50 boats. I think, if I remember rightly, 48 boats and one of the secrets of the success with any of the events is breaking them down into small pieces, so you don't have everybody doing the same thing at the same time. So we had maybe 8 boats racing at a time, and had been going through in sequence. So that's the secret sauce on managing any big event. Just break it down, a bit like the juggling. Break it down into smaller pieces and then build it back up again.
Oh, great. So of course, we know them as icebreakers. Some people, can also call them energizers, where you're just introducing yourself to the teams and getting them built up, getting them ready for the main event that you're leading to. Do you have any favorites?
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the environment that we're going into. I guess if it was just part of a conference, we do a lot of icebreakers where it's just like the warm up to the conference at the beginning of the event. We don't sell too many of them, but certainly one with a lot of impact is one called One Voice, which is where they're getting the participants to first of all warm up their voice and then warm up their bodies. Then they will do a customized song that they would all sing together. So that is good for a large conference of 100 so people. I think at the beginning of a smaller event, just something we're going to do just to set the scene for the day. We have another activity called Knowing Me, Knowing You, which is another sort of fun sort of way to get to know your colleagues in a fun way, understanding what they like personally, and a little bit about their business as well, how long they've been there. So it's good. It lasts about 30 minutes, and it's a great way to get straight away. They've already met someone new, understand their colleagues a little bit. So the next time they're wanting to go out for lunch with someone, they're like, oh yeah, I remember Bob over there. He really likes Vietnamese food. I should go and ask him to take him out for lunch, because I like that as well. So that is a favorite.
Great. Now, what kind of charities do you work with out there?
Yeah, well, we're big supporters of B1G1. So every time we do an event, depending on how many people are on that event, an impact will happen somewhere in the world. So that's our give back at the end of every event. In terms of other organizations we support in Hong Kong, there's one called Kelly Support Group, which we have a strong connection with. We work it slightly differently. We work as a sort of a win-win situation with the charities. Is normally when we're launching a new event or a new product, we would offer them a free training team building session and bring them in to run the new activity. So we can sort of try and test it. Obviously they know that, but they're getting the value of the experience, and it's also giving our facilitators a chance to try it out. So that would be how we work with them. That would be the main one we work with in Hong Kong. And then some of our clients, they might be looking at a CSR type initiative, and we have a number of different programs that we would put in for that, whether that's a bike building activity or food drive, which is going to help the local population.
Mm-hmm. And now, I'm sorry, Stuart, what was the name of that charity that you had mentioned before?
The one we support in Hong Kong, it's called Kelly Support Group.
And what is it that they do?
They look after, basically, they go around schools and do education about life, probably the things that the schools aren't telling them. So, giving them awareness around alcohol and a number of other factors. So they basically have that education, educating the Hong Kong youth to make sure they're aware of all the perils that may be awaiting them.
Fantastic. But give me just one more second there, Stuart, while I go on and I'm going to talk about my friends over here. And I tell you about those good people there at B1G1, which can make your business a real force for good. When you're a part of B1G1, you bring new purpose, meaning, and relevance to your business by making giving a core of what you do. Unlike conventional giving models, B1G1 helps small and medium-sized businesses achieve more social impact by embedding giving activities in their everyday business operations to create a unique giving story. Every business transaction can impact lives from as little as just 1 cent. So please visit b1g1.com to get started. B1G1, business for good. All right, my friend, we're back again. Can you tell me the story of one of the silliest events you were ever a part of?
The silliest event? Wow, that's a good question. I was having a bit of a think about this earlier on, and thought that question might come up. It was going back a long time ago, a number of years. Obviously, I have lots of good stories, but I think one of them was we were running again, the juggling motivator that I mentioned earlier on at one of the private members clubs for a private bank in Hong Kong. And I was on site there with David, and he comes over to me and he says, I think we've got a bit of a problem. I'm like, what's the matter? He says, my trousers have split. I said, what do you mean your trousers are split? He said, well, I was bending down to pick up one of the juggling balls, and the back of the trousers have split. And I'm having what are we going to do?
This was your partner?
This is my business partner, yeah. I mean, that could happen to any of us, right?
Sure.
So we were being very resourceful in the event business, because we were fortunate enough to be in a nice establishment. Obviously, they have all the staff there who all have a uniform. So we went to find the captain of the ballroom that we were in and said, well, got a bit of a problem here. Do you think you can find us a pair of trousers, a pair of slacks, where you're listening from? And right enough, they came over. But obviously, there was a bit of time. Obviously, the hotels and the ballrooms don't just have trousers on hand. So, meanwhile, the show had to go on. So David just had to make sure he didn't turn around, and he was kept on stage with his back to the wall. So, and obviously our customer there, I remember coming up, she said, David, okay? I said, well, we've got a slight problem that we're just working on here, but we're gonna keep the show going for you. So that's definitely probably up there as the number one.
That's a remarkably challenging moment to have in your event.
Yeah,
I love that.
Yeah.
Now, what would you consider your most popular event out there?
Yes, well, I mean, I would say, we have over 100 different events and products that we sell. Obviously, there's always a popular sort of top 10, top 20. I think probably mine, and probably varies a little bit depending on where we're at in the year, but certainly for the cooler months in Asia, Go Team is probably one of them. That's the app-based Explore event. So we've had a lot of experience with that over the years. A couple of reasons. It's a fantastic, innovative tool of GPS-driven treasure hunt.
Right.
So the participants really don't know what they're getting into, and they don't know they don't know what the questions are until they get to a location. So you can say, well, you're going to go to the Star Ferry and Tsim Sha Tsui in Hong Kong, but they have no idea what they've got to do there, because only when they get there does the question pop up. And that event has also taken us around the world, and probably somewhere a little bit closer than to where you are, to New Orleans a number of years ago, where we did an event there for 850 people.
Nice.
from a popular sports brand, and that was a lot of fun to set up and prepare for.
So in order to set that up, especially if you're going into a location you're not familiar with, what do you need to do in advance?
Well, you certainly need to do a bit of homework beforehand, and really, if you're going to a new location, you need to sort of do a lot of scouting out, see what the popular locations are, so you know where you're going. You don't want to rock up to a new city and spend a day just trying to work out where you're going. So obviously we're very fortunate in this day and age. We're overloaded with information and data, so we've got that trusted tool of the Google. So we would do a lot of research beforehand. But obviously, when we get there, obviously everyone has access to Google. So we need to really then sort of dig deep into those locations and find something that you wouldn't find on Google. So we use Google first of all to get us into the location, but then we really need to be looking around and finding clues, challenges. So go around scouting for information, taking lots of photographs. Then the next stage then is writing the content. Once you've got the content, then you need to program the back end of the system. Once you've got all that in, then it's about testing, and you really need to go out a lot of times to get around those neighborhoods that you've scouted out. You're checking for the GPS, make sure you've got the right question, and always good to bring a friend and get them to go around as well, because if you're the one who's written it, you're probably not necessarily going to see all the elements that someone else might see. So it's definitely a two-person job. So probably to put something like that together in a new city, it could be 2 or 3 days to put the content together.
Excellent. So you talk about going around with a friend. Let's bring it a little bit more to a personal side, if you don't mind. Tell me about what we're looking at, especially now with in the world of COVID. You say you have 2 kids. So how important is teamwork in your personal life?
Wow, very important at the moment because we're all at home. Kids are at home or have been at home doing the homeschooling, and we've all been spending a lot of time with each other. So I think that's keeping us very busy. So yeah, that's an important part, and obviously bringing the games that we. Some of the games work at home as well. Keeping the family engaged, and there's been times where they're also a good person to take around when you're walking around a location, scouting out a new location to find clues, to give them a bit of an experience on that as well.
Well, I imagine by this point your kids are all consummate jugglers. But tell me, what are some of your personal games that you play with your kids?
Oh, good question. Well, we have been known to build a cardboard boat before. We've been able to do the treasure hunts as well. Other than that, we've spent a lot of time out hiking and getting out into the countryside, and they would be our ways we spend a lot of our time.
So when you're trying to do things like build a cardboard boat with your kids, or do you find them just rolling their eyes at you going, "Oh, Dad's bringing his work home again"?
Something like that. Take a little bit of encouragement. Yeah, they do.
Well, okay, let's talk, since we do bring up COVID. The world, of course, has radically changed in just a few short months. A little bit longer for you folks than it were for us in the States. But everyone has come to the conclusion that nothing is ever going to go back to the way things were. Being locked down, learning new ways to do business. What kind of changes have you seen to the industry out there in Hong Kong?
Yeah, well, we've been experiencing this since February. So we were early adopters, and in terms of the live events, the face-to-face events, they stopped very quickly, which was obviously the right thing to do. Safety first.
Right.
And then what we've been finding, I would say everyone was a little unsure in Hong Kong, in China, what was going to happen. So pretty much during the first sort of 6 to 8 weeks of heads down, and just everyone keeping at home, not much going out, obviously. And then by the middle of March, the rest of the world caught up with Asia, as it does, and everyone got involved. And that's when things obviously became a lot more serious and a lot more restrictions put in place. And that's when we sort of then were really transforming the business then to a lot more virtual events for remote teams. So we've really found that making that transition, taking some of the events that we had and moving them onto digital, we moved very quickly with our partners. So we obviously had a global network there to help us along with that. Everyone got involved in transitioning to the global space. In terms of the customers, I would say it was a lot of education into what was possible in terms of being able to deliver a team building a program online. Obviously, people are used to you say team building, well, that means getting together, talking face to face.
Right. So
it's saying to people it's going to be done online and you're going to get the same experience. It takes a little bit more education, but I wouldn't say it was the same experience, but it's certainly a good experience to engage your colleagues that you hadn't seen for a while and bring them together rather than just having another Zoom meeting or another Teams meeting or another WebEx meeting. So doing something fun and engaging and learning together online. What's happening now for us in Asia is and other parts of the world, people are now getting back to the office. So there's an opportunity there of re-engaging people that are coming back. Obviously, what the moment what we're facing is obviously with the social distancing rules that are in place. So certainly in Hong Kong at the moment, it's still only 8 people that can gather at one time. So we're a lot of wait and see, I would say, for us, until the restrictions drop, whatever being mandated by the government, until they drop, then I think obviously that everything will fall in line with that. I know certainly other countries around the world starting to have groups of 20 or 50 people, or 100 people that can gather. But we're not at that stage yet.
Sure.
We're being seeing where this leads up. But I think in terms of the regional events that we were heavily involved with, and we are well placed to service those needs for the rest of the year with our virtual events that we've got, because people are not going to be moving around and traveling around Asia Pacific. So we've got our virtual events for remote teams. So I think that will still be adding value to the groups that are not getting a chance to travel at the moment.
All right, Stuart, I want to thank you very much for coming on board. It's been great talking to you and finding it's so fascinating finding out how things are happening around the world, especially in this industry. But right now, I'm going to actually shift gears a little bit, and I'm going to put you on the hot seat, okay? We all know how every time you get together for a team bonding event, people feel like they're being forced to play games to have fun. I'm going to do the same thing to you. We're about to put you through our speed round. The way this is going to work, we're going to put 60 seconds on the clock. I'm going to ask you as many questions as I can within that 60 seconds. Your objective here is just give me the first answer that pops into your head. Let's make it fast. Let's make it fun, okay? So let's go. Fantastic. Let's get that 60 seconds on the clock. What is your name?
Stuart.
How many kids do you have?
2.
Which one's your favorite?
They both are.
Fantastic. Do you have any pets?
No, thank goodness.
If you could have a new first name, what would it be?
Rupert.
Sleeping with sheets tucked in or out?
Out, of course.
Do you ever find yourself counting steps when you walk?
No.
What's your favorite kind of meal?
Pizza.
Who's your favorite celebrity chef?
Jamie Oliver.
Cake or pie?
Pie.
What's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
Psycho, when I was younger.
Who's your celebrity crush?
Kylie Minogue.
Nice. Fantastic. Oh, breaking out Kylie Minogue. I love it. And that's fantastic. I think you might have been, so far, the top answered questions that I have. You went to 8. Congratulations, Stuart. All right, my friends. Please, one more time, give a big round of applause for Stuart Harris coming to us at the beginning of his evening, all the way from Hong Kong. It's been great having you on the show, Stuart. Thank you so much. I'd love to be able to talk to you again at some point if you feel up to it. But as for me, folks, thank you. As for me, that's it. That's another episode of Team Building Around the World. Thanks so much for tuning in. If you like the show, please share it with your friends or colleagues. We'd be grateful if you would subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or wherever you find your favorite podcasts and leave a favorable review. You know, if you didn't like the show, you can just shut up about it. It's fine. But if you liked it, let us know why. Now, all past episodes can be found at teambonding.com. So one more time, ladies and gentlemen, this has been Rich Rinnensland. You've been listening to Team Building Around the World. And remember, if you're within the sound of my voice, you're on my team and I'm on yours. You take care of yourselves, folks, and we'll see you next time.
It's been said that you learn more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. So why not put your coworkers to play with the help of the team at Team Bonding? Team Bonding was founded over 20 years ago with one simple question. How can employees have a great time while fostering strong, authentic bonds between people who work together? Their catalog of innovative events includes scavenger hunts, Jeopardy, and much more. Each activity, whether live, virtual, or hybrid, maximizes the impact of team building with an accent on fun. Visit teambonding.com to schedule your event now. Team Bonding, when you want seriously fun results.